I've replayed that afternoon in my head so many times. I could sketch every expression, every word, every rustle of movement from memory. It was one of those moments where time splits, the kind of memory that ends up dividing your life into before and after. I didn't know it then, not fully, but something in me already understood the shift before I could admit it. It was a family gathering. Nothing dramatic, nothing tragic. Just the usual early fall get-together at my cousin Derek's townhouse in Boston. Melissa and I had driven in that morning from our place in Cambridge. She wore this cream-colored sweater I liked, the one that made her eyes stand out, and she hummed to Taylor Swift on the drive, tapping her ring finger on the steering wheel like she always did when she was in a good mood. She was laughing a lot that day now that I think about it. The kind of over-laughing that's a little too timed. Melissa's always been charismatic, charming even, but she had this way of laughing a beat too hard at things that weren't funny, like she was performing casualness. I didn't catch it at the time. I was too busy trying to look presentable in front of family I only half liked. My cousin's place was packed. Everyone was there, siblings, cousins, their kids. Derek's dog wouldn't stop barking, someone's baby was crying, and my mom kept trying to set up my younger brother with Melissa's friend from college. Typical family chaos. Loud, messy, warm. Or at least it used to feel that way. Around dessert time, Melissa had asked me to grab her charger from her tote bag. Bottom pocket, she'd said, then smiled before turning to pass out plates of her homemade peach cobbler. She always made it for these gatherings. Said it reminded her of childhood. Everyone loved it. Even my Uncle Pete, who complains about literally everything, once called it divine. I made my way to the coat rack where we'd left our things and found her bag tucked under her jacket. It was open. Not in an obvious, ransacked way, just casually unzipped, like she'd been rifling through it and forgot to close it. The charger was easy to find, but then I saw it. An envelope. White. Thick with a silver embossed logo at the top. The Devonshire Hotel. One of those sleek boutique places over in the seaport. My stomach tightened. The corner of a receipt peeked out from the flap like it wanted to be noticed. I hesitated. I don't make a habit of going through my wife's stuff. Not in 13 years together, not when we were dating, not after we got married, not ever. But something about this felt wrong, and I'm not proud of it, but I pulled it out. It was a receipt for a one-night stay. Room 809, King Suite. Date and timestamp printed clearly. Thursday, 9:34 p.m., 2 nights ago. The same night Melissa told me she was doing a last-minute wine night with the girls after hot yoga. She even sent a photo of a cheese board and a half-full glass of white wine. But this receipt didn't lie, and it didn't list a wine bar, it listed a hotel with room service. 2 guests. I remember the way my hands went cold. Not from the AC, the house was hot from the oven, and people crowding into every room, but my fingertips were freezing. My mind jumped instantly to 100 possibilities and then narrowed into one. This doesn't make sense. In a moment like that, you want to believe there's an explanation. That maybe it was for a friend, maybe she had to help someone out, maybe she stopped somewhere for a drink and things got misprinted. Anything but the conclusion my body was already drawing like a wire tightening in my chest. I slipped the receipt back in the envelope, careful not to crease it, and placed it where I found it. My heart was beating fast. Not movie scene fast, not dramatic. Just this tight, heavy thump like it was echoing in my throat. I turned around trying to compose myself, and that's when I saw her. Melissa standing not 10 feet away, holding a dessert plate, looking like the human embodiment of calm. Her makeup was perfect, her hair loose around her shoulders, and she had that smile on her face. That same smile she used with coworkers and extended family. Sweet, effortless, warm. Except now I realized it was practiced. For the briefest second, so fast I would have missed it if I wasn't watching her like my life depended on it, her eyes flicked down toward the bag, then back to me. Her smile didn't change, but I swear something in her pupils tightened. "Babe," she said, breezy and bright, "try this. I added cinnamon to the crust this time. You won't even believe it." And just like that, everyone's attention shifted. My aunt leaned in. "Ooh, cinnamon?" My brother grabbed a fork. "This looks insane." Even my mom, who's diabetic, asked for a bite. Melissa became the center again, the safe one, the golden wife. Not a hint of guilt in her posture, not a single crack in the facade. I stood there holding her phone charger, feeling like the only person in the room who couldn't breathe. I didn't say anything. What could I say? Hey, honey, why is there a hotel receipt in your bag from the night you told me you were at wine night with your friends? In front of our entire family, with her holding a pie and everyone cooing over her like she was America's sweetheart? No, I smiled. I took the plate she handed me. I said, looks amazing. I even nodded along as everyone complimented her crust, but I didn't taste anything. I didn't hear anything after that, not really. My world had split in half, and no one else had noticed. She kissed me on the cheek later when we left. She joked with Derek on the way out, complimented his wife's new hair color. She grabbed my arm as we walked to the car, and I remember wondering if she knew I was different now, if she felt that I knew, if she could sense that something between us, whatever it was, whatever it had always been, had just changed. The weird thing is, I wasn't even angry yet. Not fully. I was more stunned, numb, like my brain needed time to wrap itself around what I'd just seen. Part of me, the part that still loved her, hoped there was an explanation, a good one, a believable one. But the way she'd glanced at the bag, the way she diverted the room's attention so easily, it told a different story. That receipt wasn't just a slip of paper, it was a crack in the mirror, the start of something I wasn't ready to face, but knew I couldn't unsee. On the drive home, she talked about the party like nothing had happened. Who got too drunk, who's getting divorced, how great it was to see my mom laugh like that. I nodded when appropriate, threw in a few yeahs and totallys to keep things smooth. She didn't notice I was off, or maybe she did, but didn't care. I watched her from the passenger seat at one red light, really watched her. The way she adjusted her rearview mirror even though she didn't need to. The way she checked her reflection twice, then fixed her lip balm. The way she stared ahead when we passed the Devonshire downtown, not even glancing out the window. Something about it all felt rehearsed. It was the first time in years that I felt like a stranger sitting next to her. And that's the thing. It wasn't just about the receipt. It was how easily she covered it up, how smoothly she redirected everything with that bright voice and perfect pie, like she'd done it before. That night when we got home, I watched her undress from the hallway. She pulled off the sweater, wiped off her makeup, slid into bed like it was any other night. She asked me if I wanted to watch that new Netflix documentary together tomorrow. I said sure. I didn't sleep. Instead, I laid there, eyes open in the dark. The shape of that hotel envelope burned into my mind, and something whispered in the back of my skull. Pay attention, because this wasn't the first time. It was just the first time I'd caught it. You'd think the moment with the hotel envelope would be the hardest part, the gut punch, the rupture, but it wasn't. That moment was sharp, yes, but it was fast, almost surreal. The harder part came later. It was what followed. The slow unspooling of everything I thought I knew about her, about us. I didn't confront her, not right away. Part of me wanted to, believe me. I imagined it a dozen different ways, holding up the receipt, tossing it on the table, asking her directly, watching her face fall. But the other part of me, the colder, quieter part, knew better. If that receipt was just the tip of something bigger, I needed more. And if she was lying to me, I wasn't going to give her a chance to reshape the truth before I could see the whole thing. So instead, I watched. And the longer I watched, the more I realized how many little things I'd ignored. Things that didn't seem important until I saw them all at once, lined up like breadcrumbs leading me somewhere I didn't want to go. First, there was the gym. Melissa's always been into fitness. That's not new. But starting around July, she suddenly got a lot more. Motivated. More late-night sessions. More, just need to clear my head workouts. At first, I admired it. I thought it was a stress thing. Maybe work had her on edge. She'd throw on leggings, tie her hair back, and head out around 8:30 p.m. Most nights she'd be gone for 2 hours. But here's the thing. When she got home, she didn't look like someone who'd just worked out. No sweat, no gym smell, no flushed cheeks or messy ponytail. Just polished, slightly tousled, like a model in a post-yoga glow ad. And her clothes? Always clean, like they hadn't been worn long or at all. I even tested it once, pretended to hug her as she came through the door. She flinched just slightly, then said she was too sweaty. But she wasn't, not even a little. The next thing I noticed was her phone. We used to be pretty open with our devices. Not snooping, just casual. She'd play music from mine. I'd borrow hers to check traffic. Stuff like that. We even used to share calendars for appointments and reminders. That changed sometime in early August. First, the screen started auto-locking faster. Then the notifications stopped showing previews. Then our shared calendar just vanished. I brought it up once, joking that I missed knowing when I was supposed to water the plants, and she just laughed. Oh, I think I switched apps. You know me, always trying something new. She kissed me on the cheek like that answered everything, but it didn't. She also started keeping the phone face down, always. On the table during dinner, on the nightstand while brushing her teeth, even at the park when we took walks. And she never left it behind. Not even to pee. Like it was glued to her hand. It was subtle. If I hadn't been looking for it, I might have missed it. But I was looking now. Then there were the shoes. One morning I walked past her car to get something from the garage and noticed a bag in the back seat. A black canvas duffel, half zipped. Inside, I saw a pair of sneakers I didn't recognize. Expensive ones. Bright white, clean soles. Designer brand I knew she wouldn't normally splurge on. Melissa's frugal, always has been. The kind of person who'll use a 10-year-old water bottle until it falls apart. But these shoes weren't her style. They weren't for running. They looked more like performance fashion. I asked her about them later, casually. She shrugged and said they were a birthday gift from a coworker who knew she'd been wanting to upgrade her gym gear. Michael's always bringing stuff like that to the office, she said, waving it off. Michael. That was the first time I noticed her say his name. She mentioned him before, but only vaguely. Some guy on the product team, worked under her for a while, good at presentations. Now suddenly he was giving her expensive gifts? I smiled and nodded, but something inside me tightened. Then there was the perfume. Melissa has worn the same two fragrances since we met. Light, citrusy, clean. She said anything else gave her headaches. So I noticed immediately when, in late September, something changed. A new scent started showing up. Darker, more complex, warm. I only noticed it at night. Never in the morning, never before work, just late. The first time I smelled it, I thought maybe it was someone else at the grocery store. But then it kept showing up. Faint but unmistakable. Sometimes when she came home from the gym. Sometimes when she kissed me goodnight and turned away quickly. When I asked her about it once, what the new perfume was, she blinked, surprised, like I'd caught her off guard. Oh, it's just a sample from a Sephora bag, she said. Didn't think you'd notice. Do you like it? I told her it was different. She smiled and said, I'm just experimenting. Don't read into it. But I did. I was reading into everything now. Even the small things, man, like the way she'd hum when she texted. Like she was enjoying it too much. Or how she started showering more often at odd hours. Late at night, sometimes again in the morning. And how she'd started dressing differently on weekends, even if we weren't going anywhere. Like she was always prepared to be seen. The worst part? I started doubting myself. Gaslighting is real, even when no one's doing it out loud. I started wondering if I was crazy, if maybe I was overthinking everything. Maybe I was being controlling, paranoid. Maybe I was just tired, projecting insecurity. There were days I almost talked myself out of caring. I'd sit on the couch, watching her curl up with a glass of wine and a book. And I'd think, maybe this is all in my head. But it wasn't, because when you step back far enough, patterns emerge. And the pattern here was crystal clear. My wife, the woman I'd shared a decade of my life with, was drifting. No, not drifting, hiding, deliberately, repeatedly. And whatever she was hiding, It wasn't innocent. There's this moment in a relationship when something shifts, when you stop trusting not because of one big betrayal, but because all the small lies have stacked up so high, they block the light. That's where I was now. Sitting in our shared home, looking at this person I loved, and seeing someone I didn't quite recognize. I still hadn't said anything. Not yet, because part of me hoped she'd come clean on her own. But deep down, I was already preparing myself for what came next. And whatever it was, I knew it would break something we couldn't put back together. It's a strange kind of cruelty when confirmation of betrayal doesn't come in private. When the thing you've been dreading, the image that's been clawing at the edge of your mind, shows up in public like it's part of the decor. I wasn't even looking for it. I didn't go digging, didn't crack any passwords, didn't hire someone to tail her. I was just scrolling Instagram, killing time between meetings. It was a Thursday afternoon, gray skies outside, and I'd just reheated bad office coffee when I opened the app. It was the kind of mindless flicking we all do. Muscle memory, thumb dragging through snapshots of babies, brunch, sunsets, gym selfies. Nothing meant to linger. Then I saw it, a video, 30 seconds long, posted by one of Melissa's coworkers, a woman I'd met once or twice at company dinners, the kind of person who overshares online and captions everything with hashtags like workfam and blessed. The video wasn't even about Melissa. It was of the company's fall kickoff party, balloons, music, twinkle lights in the background. I almost kept scrolling, but then, in the middle of the frame, the camera panned right, just for a moment, and I saw her, Melissa, sitting on a high stool at the corner of the rooftop patio, laughing, a glass of wine in her hand. Her hair was loose around her shoulders, her face turned towards someone off camera. Then he entered the frame. Michael. His name wasn't tagged, but I knew. I'd seen him once in a group photo. Dark hair, square jaw, charming in a dangerous way vibe. He sat beside her, leaned in too close, his hand grazing her knee in a way that wasn't remotely professional. Melissa tilted her face toward him, and then she kissed him. Not on the cheek, not a playful nudge, not something that could be explained away. It was a kiss, intimate, familiar, soft, slow, like it wasn't their first. The video cut away just after, moved on to someone holding a pumpkin-shaped cocktail. The moment lasted maybe 5 seconds. But that was enough. I sat there, my phone frozen in my hand, heart thudding in my chest like I'd been scur-punched. My office chair felt too small, the room too quiet. The sound of the HVAC buzzing above me was deafening. I played the video again and again. Same moment, same gesture, same unmistakable truth. My wife had kissed another man, and not just any man, the one she'd claimed was a harmless coworker, the one who gave her sneakers, the one she joked about like he was no big deal, the one whose name now made my skin crawl. I wish I could say I threw my phone, or that I stormed out, but I didn't. I just sat there, still, like the air around me had thickened and my body forgot how to move. There's a kind of silence that takes over when reality clicks into place, the moment your doubts turn into proof, and the weight of that clarity sits on your chest like a cinder block. No more maybe, no more what if. Just this happened. I don't know how long I stayed in that chair. Long enough for my coffee to go cold. Long enough for my team lead to poke his head in and ask if I was okay. I told him I had a migraine and needed to head out early. The second I got in my car, I exhaled like I'd been holding my breath for weeks. The silence cracked. My hands trembled as I put the keys in the ignition. I didn't even have a plan. I just drove. Around side streets, past parks, through neighborhoods I didn't recognize. Windows down, music off. I felt gutted, not just because of the kiss, though that alone would have been enough, but because of how normal she'd acted. Just the night before, Melissa had sat beside me on the couch watching some baking show, feet tucked under my leg, asking me if we should do Thanksgiving at her parents' or mine. She kissed me goodnight, the same mouth that kissed Michael in front of twinkle lights. And I wouldn't have known, not ever, if someone else hadn't posted it. If some coworker hadn't accidentally captured the truth while filming their office party. That's what hit hardest. Not the betrayal itself, but how easily it could have stayed hidden. How close I came to never knowing. I pulled over at a gas station and sat in the lot for almost an hour, just breathing, just replaying the scene in my head, over and over. Each time it felt worse, more deliberate, more rehearsed, like they'd done it before. Because they had. I knew that now. That kiss didn't happen in a vacuum. It came from something ongoing, built over time. I thought back to all the things I'd been noticing. The gym nights, the perfume, the phone, the shoes, the bag with the envelope. All of it was pointing to this. I just hadn't let myself believe it until now. Later that evening, I didn't say anything to her. I couldn't. Not yet. She came home late, said she stayed after work for a quick meeting and drinks. I nodded. She kissed me on the cheek, again that same mouth, and asked if I'd eaten dinner. I said I wasn't hungry. She didn't press. She took a long shower. I heard her singing faintly through the door. Not a care in the world. And I just sat on the bed, staring at my phone, the video still open in my gallery. I watched it again. There she was, my wife, kissing someone else. I studied her face, the way she smiled into it, the way her hand rested on his chest like it belonged there. No hesitation, no guilt, just connection. You don't fake that. You don't fall into that on accident. That's what made it undeniable. She wasn't lost. She wasn't confused. She was committed to someone else, emotionally, physically, spiritually. In that kiss, I saw everything I hadn't wanted to admit for months. It wasn't about a mistake. It wasn't a single night. It was a relationship, one she'd chosen and one I wasn't part of. That night, after she fell asleep, I got up and stood by the window. The street was quiet, a few porch lights on. Our neighbor's wind chimes knocked softly in the breeze. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just felt hollow, like I was standing in the empty shell of a life I'd spent 10 years building. And somewhere, beneath all that numbness, a new feeling began to take shape. Not rage, not even grief. Resolve. Because now I knew. And once you know, you can't unknow. After seeing that video, something inside me snapped. Not in a dramatic, flip-the-table kind of way, but quieter, cleaner, like a gear shifting. I wasn't in denial anymore. I wasn't questioning myself, doubting what I felt, second-guessing what I saw. That stage was over. Now I was collecting. I didn't tell Melissa I knew. Not yet. I needed space to breathe, to think, to see how deep this went, what I found in the days that followed. I wish I could say it surprised me, but it didn't. It just confirmed everything I already felt in my gut. The first thing I did was go back to that bag, the one with the hotel receipt. It was still in the same place, in the corner of our closet under some scarves she hadn't touched since spring. I pulled it out and checked it again, this time with clarity instead of hesitation. Same date, same logo, same timestamp. But something else stood out now. A second name on the bill, Michael Reed. Room charges listed under both their names. 2 guests explicitly noted in the booking summary. The stay was charged to Melissa's card, the same one we use for groceries and Amazon orders. The same account I check every week without even thinking. She hadn't hidden it. Not really, she just assumed I wouldn't look closely. And maybe I wouldn't have, if not for that video. That was the thing about betrayal. Once it opened the door, everything else spilled through. I started checking everything. Not out of obsession. I didn't feel frantic. I felt methodical, like I was building a case, because I was. She left her work bag in the kitchen one night. I don't think she thought twice about it. She was tired, it was late, and she went up to shower like she always did. I waited until I heard the water running before I checked. Inside the side pouch, a folded taxi receipt. Late night. Pickup time listed at 12:42 a.m. Location near the Devonshire Hotel. Drop-off? A residential street I didn't recognize, but Google Maps told me everything I needed to know. It was 3 blocks from Michael's building. She'd told me she was working late that night, that a pitch meeting ran over and her phone had died. I remember because I'd waited up until 1:30 a.m. She came home in leggings and a hoodie, hair damp, said she was exhausted, kissed me like she meant it. I didn't kiss her back. I didn't want to. Next came the wine glasses. Melissa drinks red. I drink beer, sometimes whiskey. We rarely open wine unless we're hosting or on vacation. But one night when she was out, a team dinner, she'd said, I stayed home, pacing, scrolling through my thoughts. Around midnight, I noticed the dishwasher had run earlier. I opened it. Inside were two large wine glasses, both hand-washed and placed upside down on the top rack. One of them had a faint smudge of lipstick on the rim. Not quite red, not quite pink, a color I didn't recognize. No wine bottle in the trash, no corkscrew on the counter, no mention of having had anyone over. And yet, two glasses. The next morning I brought it up casually. Hey, did you open a bottle the other night? She blinked, mid-toast bite. Hmm? I found two glasses in the dishwasher. Thought maybe someone came by. She paused just for a second. Oh, yeah, I forgot. Ava stopped by for like 20 minutes. She was on her way home from work, wanted to vent about something dumb. We split a glass. I nodded, didn't say anything. Ava lives an hour away and works night shifts. But sure. 2 days later, I ran into Ava at the grocery store. I've been meaning to call you guys, she said, smiling. It's been forever. Tell Melissa I miss her face. I smiled back, nodded. Yeah, I will. I didn't mention the wine. There was no point. Everything I found after that only added to the pile. Tiny moments, forgotten slips. Like the way Melissa stopped asking if I wanted to carpool to her office events, or how she suddenly started locking her laptop, or how she used a different tone when Michael's name came up. A little too casual, a little too rehearsed. Once I called her during lunch, a rare thing, but I missed her that day. Her voice sounded breathless when she answered. Hey, everything okay? Yeah, I said. You sound winded. Oh, I just ran downstairs for coffee. Why? Nothing. Just wanted to say hi. She paused. Hi, babe. That's sweet. I'll call you back in a bit, okay? She didn't, and that's when I started taking screenshots, notes, photos of receipts. I made a folder on my phone, password protected, called it car maintenance. Inside, I built a timeline, dates, times, names. It wasn't about revenge. It wasn't about cornering her. It was about clarity. The hardest part? She still acted normal, like everything was fine. She still asked me how work was, kissed my shoulder when she passed by me in the hallway, sent me memes on Instagram. But now every gesture felt like a lie. Once I caught her in the middle of texting. I walked in from the garage and saw her on the couch, holding her phone sideways. She jumped slightly when she saw me. Hey, I said. Didn't mean to startle you. No worries, she replied, flipping her phone over. Just checking emails. The screen had shown iMessage, a blue bubble halfway typed. Emails, huh? I didn't ask. I just filed it away. Another time, she said she was running errands. Gone for almost 4 hours, came back with a single small bag from Target and a weak excuse about traffic. Her hair looked too perfect. Her lipstick too fresh. She didn't smell like store aisles and stale car air. She smelled like perfume and someone else's cologne. I noticed it more and more. All these details that felt off, out of place, disconnected from the version of her I used to know. But now I was seeing the new version, the one she didn't want me to notice, the one who had gotten good at hiding. And yet, as careful as she thought she was, the evidence kept piling up. A credit card charge at a rooftop bar she'd never mentioned. An Uber notification I caught on the shared iPad that pinged at 1:18 a.m. A note in her purse with a phone number scribbled on hotel stationery. No name, just digits. All of it, every receipt, every late night, every lipstick-stained glass, pointed to one thing. Melissa wasn't just drifting away from me. She was actively building something with someone else, and I was done pretending otherwise. There's a moment somewhere between heartbreak and clarity where emotion hardens into action. I think that's what happened to me. I'd spent weeks, maybe months if I'm honest, waking up in a fog, trying to pretend things were okay, smiling at someone who had already quietly left me behind. But once the fog lifted, once the evidence was stacked and sorted and undeniable, I stopped feeling broken. I started planning, not out of spite, not revenge, but survival. This wasn't about punishing her. It was about protecting myself, my sanity, my future, my sense of truth. If Melissa was going to blow up our marriage behind my back, the least I could do was make sure I held the match when it came time to expose the fire. So I started small. First, I bought a used laptop, paid cash. Nothing fancy, just something off Craigslist that didn't connect to any of our shared accounts. It lived in the drawer of my nightstand, tucked under a stack of old baseball cards. I didn't want to use my phone anymore. She glanced at it too often, and I was done giving her easy access to my trail. I transferred everything over. The screenshots, the receipts, photos of her hotel bills, videos I downloaded from Instagram in case they were deleted later. I even started documenting dates she claimed to be somewhere versus where she actually was, cross-referenced with time-stamped taxi receipts or credit card activity. I used a spreadsheet. It sounds cold, I know, but when someone's lying to you that smoothly, emotions become a liability. I couldn't afford to rely on gut instinct anymore. I started printing things too, not all at once. A page here, a page there, at the office or FedEx. Stuffed them in a folder I kept locked in the bottom drawer of my work filing cabinet. I labeled it Q4 Planning in thick Sharpie. No one would touch it. Every time I added to the file, a strange calm settled over me, like I was reclaiming some part of myself. Each piece of proof reminded me I wasn't crazy, I wasn't overreacting, I wasn't inventing a narrative. I was waking up to the one she'd written without me. Then I got organized. I built a timeline. It started with the hotel receipt, but I went further back, cataloging every weird gym night, every sudden team dinner, every moment that didn't sit right. Dates, times, locations, photos, screenshots of texts she'd sent me that conflicted with receipts, side-by-side comparisons. I even made a folder called Alibis, just to track what story she'd given me versus what actually happened. And that was the moment I realized she'd been lying for longer than I thought. Not just in the past few weeks, not since that corporate party video. This had been going on for months. I found a receipt from May, a dinner reservation at a steakhouse we'd never been to. 2 guests, wine pairings, romantic booth. I checked the calendar. That was the night she told me she was catching up with her cousin before her baby shower. Her cousin had texted me a baby photo that same night, from her apartment, home, pregnant, alone. That discovery was the one that almost made me crack. Not because I was surprised anymore, but because I finally understood how easy it had been for her, how practiced, how seamless. She wasn't sloppy. She didn't stumble. She crafted every story like a playwright building a world she knew I'd never question, and I hadn't, until now. Once I had everything collected, I started thinking about when to say something. I didn't want a messy, tear-filled conversation in our kitchen. I didn't want gaslighting or sobbing, or her telling me I was paranoid or overreacting. I wanted control. I wanted the truth to hit her like it had hit me, with precision, with silence, and in a place where masks couldn't be worn. That's when the opportunity came. Melissa had been working for months on this new product launch at her company, a tech rollout with a sleek interface and some AI-powered whatever. She'd been talking about it nonstop, planning presentations, prepping her speech, obsessing over her outfit. It was scheduled for the second Friday of October, at a downtown venue with glass walls, mood lighting, and a giant screen behind the stage for visuals. She was one of the key speakers, said she wanted me to come, to support her. "You'll be proud," she said one morning, biting into toast. "It's going to be a huge moment for me." I smiled. Wouldn't miss it. And I meant it, but not for the reasons she thought. Over the next week, I reached out to an old friend of mine, Paul, who used to freelance as an AV technician. I asked him a favor. Nothing shady, nothing illegal, just access to the presentation queue. I knew the company would be feeding media files into a centralized projection system. Paul knew someone on the tech team. A couple texts later, I had what I needed. I prepped a file, a simple image. One still photo taken from the corporate party video. Melissa and Michael, mid-kiss, cropped, enhanced, timestamp in the corner. Subtle, inarguable. I named the file something innocuous. Slide deck 4B updated, PNU, and made sure it was placed late in the presentation loop, near the end of her speech, where she'd likely be walking across the stage thanking colleagues. Then I waited. The day of the event, Melissa was electric. Hair curled, dressed perfect, nerves bouncing behind her smile. She kissed me in the elevator on the way down from the parking garage and whispered, "This is the biggest day of my year." I nodded. "You've earned it." And I meant that too. She had worked hard, on a lot of things. When we arrived, I took my seat in the middle row, not too close. I wanted a clear view. People filled the room, investors, co-workers, a few reporters. Her company's logo glowed blue on the big screen. The air buzzed with ambition. When Melissa took the stage, applause rippled through the room. She was radiant, confident, like nothing in her world was out of place. She clicked through her slides like a pro. User growth, market value, expansion goals. I watched her hands move, watched her smile, watched her pretend. Then the last slide faded out, and for 2 seconds, the screen went black. Then it lit up again, and there it was. The photo, Melissa and Michael, still, frozen in soft party light, her hand on his face, his lips on hers. The room shifted instantly. I watched heads turn. I heard a breath catch somewhere behind me. A few gasps. One soft, "Oh my God!" The silence was the loudest thing in the world. Melissa turned, expecting her final thank you slide. Instead, she saw the truth. Her face drained of color in real time, like watching paint peel and fast forward. She stepped back, stumbled slightly. The remote in her hand dropped to the floor with a soft plastic clack. She looked at me. From the stage, she scanned the crowd and found my face. I didn't flinch. I didn't smile. I didn't nod. I just looked back. Because now she knew. Everyone knew. And there was nothing left for her to hide behind. The image hung on screen like a silent scream. Melissa froze mid-presentation, eyes locked on the proof of her betrayal. The room, once filled with polite applause, fell into stunned silence. Whispers rippled. She searched the crowd, found me,